territory of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee Nations within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Other individuals and the media may also be audibly or visually recording this meeting as well. A reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during our council meeting. Thank you very much. Please remain standing for our national anthem. Very much. Please be seated. Glorious sunshine today. Hopefully that'll continue. But in the meantime, we have Reverend Father Andrew Kwashi going to deliver some sunshine to us today, the parish priest of St. Eugene's and St. John the Baptist Parish in the city of Hamilton. We're delighted to have you here, Reverend. Please share your invocation with us. Welcome.
Hello, and it's a pleasure to be here to share prayers with you. I sincerely would like to acknowledge all the other faith traditions present here. And for those who do not also believe, we ask that we wish our city well. We begin in the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, in whom we live and move and have our being, your word urges us that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly, dignified in every way. We thank you for this great city, Hamilton, and every individual person in this city. We thank you for our mayor, our city councilors, and those you have placed in positions of responsibility and leadership. Father, we ask you for your blessings upon this city council meeting today. May your Holy Spirit grant guidance, wisdom, discernment, and direction to this gathering. May council deliberations and decisions promote the well-being and common good of all in the city. We ask that you make our city flourish and continue to grow in peace and love. We make our prayer through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're not required to stay, Reverend. Thank you so much. That kind of punishment we don't want to hand out to you or anyone else. Thank you. So as you well know, April the 7th of this month marked a somber anniversary for members of the Rwandan community, some of whom are here with us tonight, indeed the entire world. So they're up in the audience with us. And the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda began in April 7th, 1994, lasted approximately 100 days. And when the genocide concluded in mid-July of 1994, an estimated 1 million Tutsi had lost their lives. Approximately 70% of the entire Tutsi population in Rwanda was killed by members of the Hutu majority, and members of the moderate Hutu were also killed by the thousands. The murders constituted as much as 20% loss of the country's total population. So this Saturday, April 27th, members of the community will gather with the Rwandan community in these council chambers to mark the 25th anniversary of this tragedy. And I would ask members of council and anyone here to please stand for a moment and join us in a moment of silence to reflect on and remember the genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. Thank you very much. If you're available on April the 27th, or right here at the council chambers, it'll be at what time? 2 o'clock. There you go. If you're available at that point, then please feel free to join in. Councillor Pauls?
So I just want to say that I want to welcome Charles and Cosita Butera. Thank you for coming. I don't know Chantel. And they came to me. They actually are good friends of mine, and they told me the story, and I read a couple of books, and it really touched my heart, and it should touch everybody's heart. So I hope on Saturday, at 2 o'clock, we're going to do a little walk that if you're able to come and support it. It's very important. And I know that Charles and Casita has lost loved ones. So let's show our support to this event. Thank you.
Thank you. We have done each and every year, and the Rwandan flag will be flying as well. So we are standing in unity with our Rwandan friends for sure. Thank you all. I regret to inform you, members of council and the community, that one of our valued employees has passed away. Alan Rasso passed away April 10th, 2019. Alan was a sensational staff member of the city with 25 years of service in the Public Works Department. Alan worked as a waste collection operator, and I'm sure on behalf of this council and the community, we extend our deepest condolences to Alan's entire family. Madam Clerk, then, on that note, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There is one added communication item. Item 5.7, correspondence from Lakewood Beach Community Council. It's being received and referred to item F3 of Planning Committee Report 19-006. There is one change to the communication items. 5.4, the appendix to the letter has been included in the addendum package. And due to Councillor Whitehead's absence, item 7.1 will be dealt with at the May 8th council meeting. And there is one added notice of motion. 8.1, amendments to the management agreement between the City of Hamilton and Global Spectrum Facility Management, LP Global Spectrum, and to the facility operating agreement between the City of Hamilton, the Hospitality Center Corporation, and Mercanti Banquet and Convention Center Limited, Carmen's Group.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Pearson, second by Vanderbeek. All in favor? You vote, please. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Hearing none. Thank you. Not too long ago, many women recognized in the community for the Women of Distinction Awards, but 3 City of Hamilton employees were equally recognized, and I want to recognize them here today. One of them is Tammy Wang. Tammy, do you want to come on down? The other is Pike Kerpen. Is Pike here? Pike, come on down as well. And the third is Carolyn Reed, who is unfortunately not able to be here today. Come on up here. We'll do a photo moment. But I want to acknowledge their great work for this prestigious award. Pike was nominated as a Women of Distinction Award, joined the Hamilton Fire Department in August of 2013, and quickly established herself as a valued, hardworking, self-motivated member. Prior to joining the fire department, Pike completed her master's degree at the University of Toronto with a focus on women's issues on education. Pike is a mentor, a role model, an inspiration to many. She organizes and leads the fire department's annual Camp Fit, which is Female Firefighters in Training program that introduces and encourages young women aged 15 to 20 to consider careers in the fire service. At the provincial level, Pike has become a champion for women and women's issues related to the fire service through her involvement in the executive of the Fire Service Women Ontario organization. And Pike, in her spare time, which I'm sure that she doesn't have a lot of, also volunteers with several organizations here in the city as a coach, a mentor to young women, helping them overcome self-doubt, enhancing their dreams and building their self-confidence. So let's congratulate Pike for her great achievement here. Congratulations. One second, don't go away. And then, I'm sure we're all familiar with Tammy, our biggest cheerleader. She was also nominated and was awarded a Woman of Distinction Award and has the perfect mix of ambition, humility, optimism, enthusiasm, I would add, realism, and leadership and diligence. She's an active participant and leader within the community, a group facilitator, and chief enabler to all types of local companies. Tammy works during the day as a business development officer, Global Hamilton, attracting and retaining talented immigrants and international firms to Hamilton. But Tammy also co-founded and manages a co-working space called CoMotion on King. And before that, she co-founded Strive Consulting to help the city's nonprofits with organizational issues. And Tammy was also part of the team that built Hamilton's Innovation Factory into a supportive giant in the city's entrepreneurial system and was involved in the infancy of Hamilton Hive and the city's umbrella network for young professionals. So on that achievement, Tammy, congratulations and thank you for all your hard work. Now, Carolyn isn't here, unfortunately, but she was also nominated as a Woman of Distinction in the Business Development category. She's a business development consultant with the City of Hamilton, Economic Development Division. Over the last 20 years, she held several key leadership roles that have been great benefit to the City of Hamilton, its citizens and businesses. Carolyn manages and established the first small business enterprise center on the first floor of the City of Hamilton. She built programs and developed partnerships that assisted hundreds of Hamilton small businesses get off the ground. Carolyn also managed the city's brownfield portfolio in very early years and laid the foundation for the redevelopment of contaminated sites in the City of Hamilton. For the last 10 years, Carolyn has put her efforts into managing the emerging economic sectors of life sciences and digital media for the city, helping stimulate investment interest, supporting community programs, and championing working together to build a better Hamilton. And in 2014, Carolyn was recognized for her capacity building by receiving the Mark Chamberlain Defizin of the Year Award from Innovation Factory, which is presented. Thank you. Difficin. Thank you, Tammy. You can always count on Tammy to give us corrections, for sure. You're going to cheer for this afterwards, too, I'm hoping. So the award was given to present to an individual who goes above and beyond the call of duty for the Hamilton innovation community. So in 2018, Carolyn was the very first Hamilton Technology Center Community Champion. This award recognized Carolyn for her commitment to local business and for her contribution to the success of the Hamilton Technology Center. So Pike, Tammy, and Carolyn, we congratulate you all and thank you for all your great work. Opportunity.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank the City of Hamilton and the fire department in particular for their support of the projects that I've been initiating in the department and for nominating me for the award. It was a real honor to be among 75 plus women in the community who are being acknowledged by the YWCA. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councilors. Thank you to the...
5 minutes, Tammy.
I do want to say formally that the City of Hamilton is some place that I love. I love the things that we do. I love the direction that we're heading in. I also love the fact that our work environment is actively working towards being an equal opportunity employer, and that especially I want to give a little bit of a shout out to PED and economic development, because this is where I found my groove, and I'm super excited to be where I am today. So thank you very much.
Yes. Sorry, Judy. Councilor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that I have to say that the the dinner was absolutely outstanding, and I can't tell you how proud I was to have 3 women from the city of Hamilton nominated. You were there, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Jackson, and there were others that were in attendance as well. As a recipient of the Public Affairs and Government Relations Woman of the Year Award many years ago, I would wager that with all the women that were there, our 3, as well as many others, were probably so surprised to hear their names called as winners, because you never think you've done enough or that you've done anything special. But after hearing these 3, honestly, you have more than earned your wings, and I feel so blessed that we have you here at the city, so thank you so very much.
Thank you. So a couple of years ago, Grace Mader was the Woman of Distinction for the year for the entire city. So we've had many nominees, and there are many, many doing great, great work in our community. A motion to approve the minutes of April the 10th, moved by Clark, seconded by Partridge. All in favor, electronic vote, please. Councillor Jackson, I'm sorry. I did see you. My apologies.
That's all right. Mr. Mayor, I think the minutes from April 10th, which is what we just moved,
Yes?
I believe Councillor Clark was deputy mayor for the month of April, and it's got me noted as the deputy mayor, and I concluded in March. So if we could just have that corrected, please, I would be appreciated. So with that as amended, thank you.
I saw nodding of heads, so as amended, moved and seconded. All in favor? You vote? Esther? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And members of council, you have communications items 5.1 through 5.7. Again, if you want to lift any one of those off, please indicate. If not, and then we'll have to take a motion. Councillor Nan.
Thank you, Mayor. 5.4.
Get it? Go ahead.
So I'd recommend that it be received and referred to the General Manager of Healthy and Safe Communities.
Is your motion? Sorry. Okay, seconded by? Okay, Councilor Marula, thank you very much. So all in favor of that? Actually, we can do that as a column. So we'll make the change. We'll go on to other items. Any other items on the communications? Councilor Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's correspondence from the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services 5.2 with respect to asking municipalities in Ontario whether they could be of assistance in stepping up to provide for emergency shelter, I believe, during the flooding season coming up. And I was wondering if we could refer to that to community and Mr. Johnson for consideration and comment.
Is it healthy and safe communities or community? Is it still healthy and safe?
Emergency.
Oh, yeah, we're back to that, yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Going to that department. Moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Farr. Okay, thank you. I'll come back to the entire motion then. Any other items? Hearing not, I'll take a motion on the package then as adjusted, as amended entirely. Moved by Wilson, seconded by Pearson. All in favor? Electronic vote. Thank you. Councillor Clark, may I have a motion on the communications then, please? I think I just did that, yeah, didn't I? Wow, I'm way ahead of myself here. I'm jumping the agenda. Councillor Jackson, a motion to move into committee of the whole for consideration of the committee reports, please.
Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Ward 7 Councillor Esther Pauls, that council move into committee of the whole for consideration of all the committee reports.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Clark, please assume the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Board of Health presents report number 19004 and respectfully recommends item number 1, correspondence from Windsor, Essex County. It's an electronic vote. The item is carried. Item number 2 is the semi-annual infectious disease and environmental health report. This is a show by voice. All in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Number 3, semi-annual public health performance report. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Item is carried. Number 4, communication policy between Medical Officer Health and the Board of Health. Any opposed? Item is carried. Number 5, heat warning information system. Any opposed? The item is carried. Number 6, Hamilton Wentworth Detention Center deaths. Thank you. Any opposed? The item is carried. Item number 7, Hamilton Tick Management Plan and Committee report. Any opposed? The item is carried. Item number 8, the Ontario Health Teams citywide. Any? I have speakers. Mayor Eisenberger on this item? No. Councilor Marula on this item? Thank you very much. So on item 8, all those in favor? Any opposed? Councilor Marula, you now have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And through you to Paul, there's been a lot of discussion and chatter surrounding the provincial announcements and the incremental impact it's having throughout the province. And so could you just elaborate on the Board of Health and how the recent announcement may be affected by the announcement itself from Doug Ford?
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, please.
So through the Deputy Mayor, as you've heard both in the media and some of the correspondence that we've sent to you as staff, there are a number of changes occurring right now. The frustration for both myself and Elizabeth is that we don't have a lot of detail. And change is inevitable, but the details are sorely lacking on both the structure front as well as the financial front. So we know that structure is looking to change, public health units going down in numbers across the province and being more what I'll call regionalized. We also know that there was a shift announced in the funding cost-sharing agreement to a 70-30 mix for the city of Hamilton. That is effective as of the 1st of this month. That piece is more complicated to talk about impact because public health programs are funded in a variety of ways. So until we understand the detail, we can't fully give you some information about that. So we are feeling increasingly under pressure to get that information and move forward then with some better planning and better information for you as council to start to make some decisions. That, coupled with other announcements on other provincially funded or cost-shared programs, does have a financial concern, and I articulated that to council in an email just a couple of days ago. And my concern is that we are talking about programs that are large in number. For a child care budget, it's roughly $70 million. For the public health budget, it's roughly $50 million. These are gross numbers. And so any changes to the way cost-sharing works and the way funding works has a significant impact on the net levy component. So we are weighting those numbers. I know we're hearing a lot of things out of other jurisdictions. This is billions, millions of dollars. Right now, I'm not able to say what the number is. We just want that information very soon. But I can tell you that we're not talking about tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. We're potentially talking about low millions of impact when we look at all of our provincial programs. And that's the reality of having $330 million in healthy and safe communities coming from the provincial government. So there are structural changes that concern us and our staff. There are changes that concern us from a financial perspective. And the only thing that I would leave us with tonight is, in terms of my opening comment, and happy to take other questions, is our business as usual is what it is today. So services have not changed for the public. Childcare services remain unchanged. Public health services remain unchanged. Nothing would change in the public's view until we've had a chance to come back and share with you what we think some of those impacts are. This is a time of great change, and unfortunately we've received very little information, but the information we've received to date does concern us both from a structure and finance perspective.
Councillor?
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, Paul, we look at what's happening down the QEW in Toronto. They're reopening their budget process to accommodate the impacts. Are we going to be potentially in that position?
Well, through the Deputy Mayor, you will definitely be in some position of having to receive reports from us around what it means in year for the budget change. Because it is of a scope that's not negligible, so nothing that I can just maneuver things around. We will have to have some discussions. I wish I could say what that magnitude was in the full case, but the reality is some of these cost share formulas need to be more fully understood. But I would expect we will be coming back to you with what the impact is. We do not, in the case of the childcare, we did not budget for such a significant cost share change, both on the administration of our programs and the particular line item within childcare, which is approximately 10 million, which is now a 80-20 cost shared program as opposed to 100% funded. So I'm not sure I want to use the term, especially sitting next to Mike, opening the budget process. It makes him quiver a little bit. But we certainly will be having to bring you back some information about in-year adjustments to our budget and how we might be able to deal with that. And we will have to have a conversation with you about how we deal with this year's service delivery, but more importantly, what your direction to us is heading into the 2020 budget. None of these things are disappearing. This is the new normal for our programs. And we'd have to get some direction from you as to how we would deal with this in coming budget years.
Councillor?
So clearly, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're going to be in a position where we're going to have to make a decision of whether or not we're going to decrease services as it pertains to public health and or childcare, or increase the impact on the general levy and by extension, the taxes that our residents pay. The question becomes, when are we going to have that particular meeting and or information, from a time frame standpoint?
Mr. Zagaric? Perhaps at general issues?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it would be subject to detail from the ministry, from the province to the municipality, specific around the programs that Paul has described. It is somewhat curious to me how other jurisdictions may be deliberating on their financial situation exclusive of that detail, but nonetheless, when we receive that information, the first opportunity, again, subject to the timing, would be through a variance report. We present our variance reports through Audit Finance Administration, and we would identify what the forecast impact for 2019 is through the variance report. As well, if staff have any mitigating measures that we could recommend at that time, we would bring that information forward. And as the councillors identified, in the longer term, as in 2020 budget process, we would bring that information forward for considerations as it relates to, again, any mitigating measures, whether that is amending services, service levels, or finally increasing the property tax levy to mitigate the shifts in cost sharing.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is that we're receiving assurances that we'll be able to gap it until 2020 without impacting the 2019 taxation period. Is that correct?
So through you, through you, Deputy Mayor, is we're not in a position, I'm not in a position to provide an assurance tonight. A is for the reason is until we have an appreciation as to the detail and the magnitude of the impact. And the second reason is that the principal reserve fund or bank account that we rely on to address these unscheduled events is our tax stabilization reserve, which only has a uncommitted balance of about $3 million. So given the balance in that reserve, until such time as we understand the magnitude of these impacts, typically we would rely on that reserve to help mitigate in year, but it may require a combination of reliance on reserves and some mitigating measures in year in 2019.
Could we, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, somehow communicate, if we have to do it formally through motion and or direction to the province, that, and respectfully, that if they're going to make these types of decisions, that we should be made aware of it prior to supporting a budget? It would be very helpful. Creating the chaos that this is creating province-wide is a disservice and not a service to the residents of this province. So perhaps if offline we can maybe formally address this. I'm not sure what the best approach would be, but I've never encountered, or we've never encountered this type of nonsense before, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen again.
They are in-year fiscal changes that are going to impact this year. And they are citywide, so, Mr. Zagaric?
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, one option is a resolution from council given the disconnect between our fiscal year and the provincial government's fiscal year, is asking for some transition policies to provide some transition funding to assist municipalities in 2019 and allowing municipalities an opportunity to digest and understand the impacts leading into our 2020 fiscal year.
Fair enough. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor. Mayor Eisenberger, you have a motion, please, to approve the report as presented and receive the information section.
I do, that the eighth report of the General Issues Committee be adopted as presented and information section received, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Partridge.
Electronic vote, please. The item is carried. The Planning Committee presents report number 19-006 and respectfully recommends item 1, the Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee Report 19-002, Dunnington Grub Gardens 1000 Main Street. An electronic vote is required. Item is carried. On item number 2, active official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and plan of subdivision. This is a vote by show of hands. All in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Item 3 is the licensing and bylaw services, housekeeping and technical amendments to bylaws. This is by vote of show of hands. All those in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Item number 4 is to incorporate city lands into the Soho Street bylaw, Ward 9, and this is an electronic vote. The item is carried. Item number 5 is to incorporate city lands into Upper Mount Albion Road by bylaw in Ward 9. Electronic vote is required. Item is carried. Item number 6 is to incorporate city lands into Columbus Gate bylaw, Ward 9. Electronic vote, please. On item number 7 is applications to amend the Urban Hamilton official plan zoning bylaw numbers. This is an electronic vote and is an approval of a draft plan by subdivision Midtown for lands at 1809, 1817, and 1821 Rymel Road. That's coming up. It's in the information section, but thank you for reminding me. You are there for that. Thank you very much. Item number 8 is the Durand Neighborhood Character Study Review, 1907-17 PED, and this is an electronic vote, please. That item is carried. Mr. Mayor, if you could please take the chair.
Will do. Thank you. Go ahead.
So on page number 9 of 13 in the Planning Committee, in the information section, you'll find a condition number 19. I am moving, and I need a seconder for that. Councillor Collins, please. Thank you. That the staff be directed to retain an independent firm at the applicant's expense to conduct a peer review of the hydrogeological geotechnical studies of the natural spring as SP3, which includes monitoring, the karst management protection, buffering, and implementation. So this is a spring in the middle of the development, and they're going to do one more study, and we need an electronic vote on that.
Okay, so thank you. Any comments or questions? If not, electronic vote, please. And that is carried. The chair is back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pearson, may I please have a motion to approve the report as presented to receive the information section as amended?
Mayor, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brad Clark, that the 6th report of the Planning Committee be adopted as presented and the information section received as amended.
Thank you, and that's electronic vote. Councillor Jackson, you were going to ask a question about something in the information report about 310 Francis. That item is in the information report and it's direction to the planning staff, so the council doesn't have authority on it yet. They'll deal with it, and then it will come forward to us. Okay? No problem. I'll check that out for you. Thank you very much. The General Issues Committee presents report number 19008 and respectfully recommends item number 1, Labor Relations Activity Report 2014 to 2018. This is a vote by show of hands. All in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Number 2, the 2018 Municipal Tax Competitive Study. A vote by show of hands. All in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Item number 3, the Office Tenancy Assistance Program, 286 Sanford Avenue North, 2nd floor, Hamilton. An electronic vote is required on this. Thank you. The item is carried. Item number 4 is the Office Tenancy Assistance Program, 286 Sanford Avenue North, 3rd floor. Electronic vote is required. Item is carried. Item number 5 is the Airport Subcommittee Report 19002, March 29, 2019. Electronic vote is required. Councillor Pauls, please. The item is carried. Item number 6 is the Annual Assessment Appeals as of December 31st, 2018. This is by show of hands. All in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Number 7 is the Annual Tax Reviewers as of December 31st, 2018. By show of hands, all in favor? Any opposed? The item is carried. Item number 8 is the 2018 Tax Policies and Area Rating Policies, and this will be an electronic vote. Councillor Jackson, please.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And a lot has been said about our tax policies and area rating, and a lot has been recently in the media, and our mayor has done an excellent job of explaining the current economic situation at hand and the reports that have come out regarding the ability to pay and where our taxes lie. I just want to reinforce and reiterate, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that if you look at the D, E, and F parts of this report and this item number 8, the D part says that the existing senior 65-plus tax rebate program be continued for another year. It's been with us, I believe, about 15 years. It's approximately $196 a year that seniors that are eligible, that are 65 years of age and older, that are still in their homes, wish to stay in their homes, helps them put it towards their property taxes. The E and F part are fairly new programs, especially the F part, that the full tax deferral program for seniors and low-income persons with disabilities be continued for the 19 taxation year as the second year of a 3-year pilot. Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're one of 3 municipalities in Ontario, Halton Region, Ottawa, and ourselves that started the full tax deferral over the last 12 to 18 months. And once again, it's an opportunity for seniors who wish to stay in their homes, cannot pay their property taxes, can defer the tax payments until the day that either they move to some other retirement home or a long-term care facility. At the time that the estate is then sold, the City of Hamilton recoups the money that was not paid over that period of time. My point with all these, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is that especially in the area for our seniors, who many of them are on limited disposable income, we're doing our very best, and one of the few municipalities in the province, we're doing our very best to provide programs for those that have difficulty with ability to pay so that hopefully they can stay in their homes and they know their civic government has them as a top priority. I just want to say that once again for the public record in light of recent media reports. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson. So we're now voting on item number 8, 2018 tax policies. Electronic vote, please. The item is carried. Number 9 is the Open for Business Subcommittee Report 19001, and it's an electronic vote. Please. There you go. The item is carried. Thank you. Item number 10 is the Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities Report 19002. It's an electronic vote, please. The item is carried. Item number 11 is the Interview Subcommittee to the General Issues Committee Report 19001. The first part is the appointment of chair and the vice chair. The second part is appointment of citizen members. If anyone has any concerns, we need to go in camera on that. Seeing none, the item is before you. It's electronic vote, please. Thank you. The item is carried. Item number 12 is the judicial investigation Red Hill Valley Parkway. The item is an electronic vote. And the item carries on a vote of 13-2. Number 13 is the update respecting the province's intention to move from 52 paramedic services to 10 across the province. This report is to be received by a vote of show of hands. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The item is carried. Item number 14, sorry, I missed one. 14, disposition of real estate in the Barton-Tiffany area. This is electronic vote. The item is carried. Item number 15 is the Strathern Avenue North monitoring potential regulatory litigation. It's an electronic vote, please. Councillor Ferguson, please. The item is carried. Mayor Eisenberger, may I please have a motion to approve the report as presented and receive the information section? Electronic vote. There you go, sir.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that the 8th report of the General Issues Committee be adopted as presented and information section received.
Thank you, sir. Item is carried. Councillor Tom Jackson, would you please present your motion to waive the 48 hours notice to present the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee Report 19006? Sir.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I will. Moved by myself, seconded again by Ward 7 Councillor Esther Pauls, that Section 5.7, Paragraph 2 of the city's procedural bylaw, which provides that a minimum of 48 hours shall pass before a standing committee report is presented to council, be waived in the order to consider the AFNA Committee Report 19-006.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, a 2/3 majority is required on this vote. Electronic, please. Thank you. And the item is carried. Item number one, the Audit, Finance, Administration Committee presents report number 19006 and respectfully recommends item number 1, Human Resources Branding. Show of hands. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? The item is carried. Item 2, Internal Administrative Pool Update. Show of hands. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? The item is carried. Item 3, Ward-Specific Funding Initiatives Report as of December 31st. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? The item is carried. Item number 4. On item number 4, Councillor.
Thanks, Chairman Clark.
Item number 4 is the 2019 Development Charges Background Study.
Through you to staff, I see that I wasn't able to attend. I do sit with your Development Charges Subcommittee. This was an extension of that to Audit and Finance, of which I'm not a member. So through you to the appropriate staff, if I could get a review specifically on page 7 of 11. I see that our outgoing president and Hamilton devotee forevermore, I'm sure, Dr. Patrick Dean, presented as a delegate. Did he speak at all? I'm assuming he did, but did he speak at all to the withdrawal of the historic piece of our historic relationship with McMaster as it relates to taking away development charges for McMaster projects outside of the campus?
You're asking me or staff, sir?
Staff. The appropriate staff.
Mr. Garrick, please.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there were a series of delegates from local universities and college with respect to proposed amendments surrounding the treatment for universities and The one exception is Mohawk because of a legislative rule that reduces the potential impact on Mohawk. But the delegate spoke to proposed amendments with respect to exemptions for residences as well as academic space and research space. They were advocating for continuation of our existing policies and not amending the policy, effectively reducing the level of exemption for those entities.
Sorry, can you repeat that last bit, Mike? I didn't understand that.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, they were advocating for maintaining our existing development charge exemption policies, whereby they are provided a partial exemption for residences as well as education and research. And they were, again, advocating that those exemptions not be clawed back, which is what is before committee as a recommendation.
So along with President Dean, there were others, as you mentioned, and what is it we're recommending to do with respect to this issue?
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, with respect to student residences, what is being recommended and what went before the Development Charge Steering Committee was to grandfather existing applications, and I believe the grandfather date was to June 30th, 2020. And that would provide any developments that meet the requirement of a building permit by such date, they would be eligible for a 50% exemption with respect to those developments. After such date, they would no longer be eligible for a development charge exemption. And with respect to the academic as well as research and development space, the recommendation is to claw back the development charge exemptions for those developments.
And so, as you mentioned all about Mohawk, who have this divine intervention from some provincial statute from long ago,
They're a Crown agency.
as a Crown agency, are able to avoid having to go through what has been countless hours since our first DC meeting on this matter of trying to find some common ground here. Ultimately, it's going to be in our hands, colleagues. And you may have noticed, particularly if you sit on the DC subcommittee, I'm trying to advocate on this issue, having personally been very supportive and very impressed by Patrick Dean's very first presentation here, particularly as it relates to MAC, but the Redeemer and other institutions, when he said that he was going to make it his mission to integrate McMaster University into the greater good of the city and the greater city, and he absolutely has done that. It probably has helped him propel to the position he's going to be in Kingston.
Councillor,
So,
can I simply suggest that the actual decision is not before us today? This is just
The item
a
is.
background study.
So the item is.
We're not making the decision today.
I'm not debating that at all.
There's another 30 days to go before the final
I'm
recommendation.
very well aware of that. I appreciate your assistance, but if I may continue? Thank you. Appreciate that. So I think there's a method to my madness. I want to reiterate in this 60-day period that we're halfway through, as I appreciate you pointing out, that I'm going to continue to advocate for this because as a Ward 2 councillor, since that first delegation from Patrick Dean, I've been very, very impressed that himself, representing everyone else that's part of this institution, has been true to his word. It has been phenomenally beneficial for us to maintain incentives and to be good partners, as he suggested he wanted to be so many years ago, and certainly they have acted in good standing. And so I'm hopeful that we can come to some conclusion 30 days from now that may hopefully be something that both sides are supportive of. Some variation of what's before us now anyway. And certainly they're doing a very good job, as they did the other day at AFNA, in advocating for that. The reason why I bring this up, Mr. Chairman, and I do appreciate you want to move an already moving meeting along, I hope everybody saw the article today in the Hamilton Spectator, and the McMaster University had an opportunity to sit down with the Hamilton Spectator editorial board. Natalie Padden, who's a Ward 1 resident and I think a former MAC student, I'm not sure, Westdale grad, I know that, had wrote a wonderful story that is a synopsis of what MAC has contributed, just McMaster in this case, to our gross domestic product. And so through you to staff, Mike or Jason, have you read the story? And it is a KPMG report that's being cited as a result of this story from the editorial board meeting. Have you had a chance to review that, and can you validate the numbers that we're seeing?
I suspect they'll be doing that when they come back in 30 days and reporting on all of this.
Through you, Chair, to Jason or to Mike.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I've seen the article. Staff have not undertaken a exercise of validating KPMG's numbers.
So given through you that there is only 30 days, as you importantly pointed out, is there an opportunity to do that before the 60-day period? I think it's important that I bring this up now because we're halfway through the 60-day period, that we can verify the KPGA numbers. So for those people who have witnessed the transformation of their ward and the true to his word mandate of an outgoing president now, of a university to integrate with this city, and may want to, someone like me, to continue to advocate on clawing back this withdrawal of this particular part, the DC partnership we've had historically with McMaster and others. Is there an opportunity between now and then, and I think it's relevant tonight, that Mike, you or your staff can validate the KPMG report that, Mr. Chairman, talks about a 1.33 gross domestic product.
To comment on it or validate it?
I'm not just about done answering it's just my last question, if you'll allow me, and we'll be able to continue to, set the record for the shortest council meeting ever. So 1.33 million in this story today of gross domestic product to our city annually, 1.27 billion linked to productivity by research and development since 1971. We were in this story told that KPMG in this study, and we've used KPMG many times as well, 1.24 billion annually to Hamilton's GDP from annual and ongoing expenditures by and as a result of McMaster University. There's a lot of really good information in here. I'm just seeing it today for the first time too. I wasn't at the AFNA meeting. I'm not a member of AFNA. But I think it's worth it, especially given that we're halfway through the 60-day commenting period. We have representatives here today, actually, from McMaster University, who are working hard to try to find some solution because they find that this withdrawal of this historic partnership to be overly onerous. And I think if we can validate the KPMG report, we may have a pretty good argument to get some support around this table to find some solution, some middle ground. So through you to Mike, is there a possibility that some member of our staff can at least look at this report, validate it, so we can use it to edify what we're looking at?
Clarify.
Why are you, I don't understand the interruption. I think I have valid questions.
Respectfully, you're not in order, or this matter is not before us today. This was the background study.
I'm just asking that they could look at that.
Respectfully, Councillor, you weren't present at the meeting. They gave their report, they gave us the KPMG stuff, it was referred to staff to report back to us. That was what we're asking them to do. I think that's what you're asking us to do.
Sorry, it wasn't confirmed with me here tonight that unless I missed it, sorry, through you, for clarity, my own clarity. Mike, did you confirm that the KPMG report at AFNA last week was delivered by McMaster?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it was not delivered. I believe one of the delegates, Roger, had made reference to some of the outcomes that were reported in through the KPMG report, but again, it was not presented as a companion report to the delegation.
There was a reference to it in the AFNA meeting the other night.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, one of the delegates did reference some of the outcomes reported through the KPMG report.
So I hope most of my colleagues would agree, clearly the chair doesn't, that this is actually valid to bring this up now, since it was referenced at the meeting that's before us now, that we're about to ratify. So all I'm asking for is that KPMG report that was written about today, that was referenced at AFNA, be validated by our own staff, so we can be well-informed 30 days from now.
I understand.
The 60-day period is through, that's all. And if that's an inappropriate question, and you feel that's...
Inappropriate, Councillor. I'm still reminding you that we actually did that at the meeting.
You have asked, okay, I haven't heard that.
The process that is underway is everything that is received by all of the delegates, and we had numerous PowerPoints from different universities, colleges, all of that goes to staff. They then digest all of that information and report it back with recommendations, and we go from there. That's the process. You're just one step ahead of it today.
Okay.
This is just the report on that actual delegation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I wasn't there, which is why I'm asking, and that happens from time to time for those of us who aren't committee members. So I appreciate your indulgence. So through you, at what point can I see that review of the McMaster KPMG report?
Mr. Zagaric, please.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, as Councillor Clark's identified, as staff have inventoried all of the issues that the delegates brought forward, and we will prepare responses to those issues. With respect to the actual KPMG report, again, the outcomes of that report were referenced. The report itself was not presented.
Oh, well, I'm hearing.
So again, to be in terms of where we are with the process and having some appreciation of a benefits report, I would say staff haven't the capacity in terms of time and the familiarity of the data to validate that report. What staff would be able to do is to report back with a summary as to the nature of the benefits and where those benefits accrue to which order of government. And that may be helpful to committee as it relates to understanding the value of that study and the outcomes of that study.
And ultimately deliberating on whether or not we want to proceed with the staff recommendation as it respects this particular issue. That's all I wanted to make clear. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mayor Eisenberger, please.
So I don't want to get into the rabbit hole here, but I think it's rather awkward for our staff to validate that report. I mean, that's virtually asking them to do the report all over again. So I think a summary of the report, once it's delivered, would be reasonable to ask for. But validating it, I really don't know how you do that without summaries about. If that's what your intent was, then I will be silent, because I think we're going to have lots of discussion on this for sure, on both sides of the issue. And, it's not an easy one, quite frankly, because there's a complexity to this. And, what isn't borne by the institution is borne by the taxpayer. So we're going to have a difficult decision to make on this. And I don't think we need to be kind of bearing in on that today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Item number 4, just so everyone understands, we're simply receiving the report. Show of hands. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. The item is carried. Item number 5, the tax rate operating budget variance report as of December 31st. This is an electronic vote, please. Sorry. If we could just clear the screen so that Councillor Ferguson can speak. Go ahead, Councillor.
I just want to recognize that staff have delivered a surplus to us again. I know it's not as big as we've been used to in the past, but there's $7.1 million in the rate, not the rate budget, but the tax-supported budget, and there's a total of $16 million from the rate budget. So it's still a significant amount of money. I want to congratulate them on delivering that surplus to us.
I think you have done that, Councillor. Thank you very much. So now the electronic vote, please, on item number 5. The item is carried. Number 6 is the Governance Review Subcommittee report. Electronic vote, please. And the item is carried. Item number 7, Mr. Mayor, if you could just take the chair for a moment, please.
Will do.
Mic's on there, sir. Oh, I got you. There you go.
Thank you.
So this is the Terrapure Environmental Heritage Green Community Trust indenture. I do not have a conflict of interest due to my role on the Heritage Community Trust. The Integrity Commissioner provided me written correspondence to that effect, as did the lawyer for the actual trust fund themselves provided me that. So this is really setting up the indenture that enables the trust fund to receive the money from Terrapure and then redistribute it to the community around the landfill itself. So I just wanted to make that known. So
Okay, thank you.
take the chair back.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So item number 7 is before us. An electronic vote, please. Thank you. The item is carried. Item number 8 is the Lead Water Service Replacement Loan Program amendments, and it's an electronic vote. Thank you. Item 9 is a Development Charges Stakeholders Subcommittee report. So this is the report of the subcommittee itself. An electronic vote, please. This is the report of the committee. The other one was to audit and finance. Thank you. The item is carried. Councillor Collins, may I please have a motion to approve the report as presented and receive the information section. And where are you on here? There you go. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Marula that the 6th report of the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee be adopted as presented, the information section received.
Thank you, Councillor. And it's an electronic vote, sir. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Jackson, may I have a motion to rise from the Committee of the Whole, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for the third time tonight, moved by myself, seconded by Ward 7 Councillor Esther Pauls, that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Are there any motions? There are no motions. Notices of motion. I need to put forward a notice of motion, which is a housekeeping matter, and I need to waive the rules to be able to bring that. So moved by myself. So I'll turn the chair over to Councillor Clark for a moment. And I'm not touching anything. All right. You're on, sir. So I need to move a motion to waive the rules to allow for this motion to be introduced relative to the Global Spectrum and Carmen's operating agreements. And this is a matter of just changing some dates to allow them to continue to negotiate up until, I believe it's June the 1st, I think is the...
Seconder, sir.
Councilor Marula and...
Marula, so this is a waiver of the rules. It's a 2/3 vote. Electronic.
Thank you.
Item is carried. Please proceed, Mr. Mayor.
You have the item 8.1 before you. It's lengthy. It's really quite a reiteration of the previous recommendation. The ultimate change is that it allows for a waiver of the 60-day notice period before the end of the contract, and this will allow them to continue to negotiate until the end of the contract is, in fact, in June. And so discussions are ongoing. They're going well. They just ran out of time to be able to bring this to council by May the 1st. So this will then allow them to continue on and bring that to us in June. So moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Marula.
Thank you. The item is before us. An electronic vote, please. The item is carried. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. There are no other motions or notices of motion, so we'll go straight to items of interest. I'm going to start with Councillor, sorry? Did you have a notice of motion or a motion that you want to put forward? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. It's 10.1. It's a motion, but it could go into camera. If anybody has any objections, we can move that right now, can we not? It's a motion? No. 10.1.
We're going to go to
Sorry,
appointments. So it's actually the private and confidential portion. We can move that, but we can do items of interest first and then move that, and then we'll do the bylaws thereafter. Councillor Wilson, items of interest.
I have two for Saturday. We all love spring, but we hate litter. There is a cleanup at the Res in Kirkendale neighborhood this Saturday from 9 until noon. I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Christopher Dunn, who has been the champion and volunteer lead of that cleanup for well over 25 years. And I'd like to recognize his citizenship and his contribution to the community. There's a second cleanup, a joint collaboration between the Westdale BIA and the Ainsleywood Westdale Community Association, also on Saturday, meeting just outside the CIBC at 2 p.m. In both exercises, supplies, gloves, bags, etc. will be provided. So if you can make an effort to come out, everyone who lives in those neighborhoods, I would appreciate it. I will be there at both.
Thank you. great efforts happening across the city, in fact, waterfront and all through the parks. I think teaming up to clean up is the right thing to do, and many are doing it, and we thank them all for their good work. Councillor Farr.
Absolutely. Great city. I know you're a true champion and a great mayor, and I love the Hammer as much as anybody. And I have only one announcement tonight, and that's that my boy, born at St. Joe's, is 14 on this very day. I'm going to run out of here right after this. I know he loves the Hammer, too. He's been playing exceptionally well in rep hockey with the Hamilton Huskies, that storied institution. And I'm doing all my best as a parent because he's off to high school, and this is a big year for him, and formative years are ahead. I want him to stay in Hamilton, so I'm hoping that we afford my son and other kids in this city the opportunity to attend McMaster University, which is bursting at the seams at their current location, and we provide incentives and programs to allow MAC to continue this wonderful partnership. So happy birthday, buddy, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Very good. I'm sure McMaster will welcome him with open arms, providing his grades are good, of course. Councillor Net.
Joining in encouraging residents to volunteer and participate in the beautiful alleyways cleanup. There's a central meetup point at Powell Park on Saturday at 9 a.m. for folks who want to join different teams to be part of the cleanup crew. The other thing that I wanted to bring to folks' attention is on May 4th, the joint Ward 3 and Ward 4 So Hungry Festival will be happening on May 4th on Saturday. And this year, we're proud to work closely with residents who have led on an initiative to try and make this Hamilton's very first zero waste food festival. And so under the Zero Hero campaign and also with support from Councillor Marula, we're supporting the resident-led initiative to actually have all of the food vendors use compostable and 100% recyclable materials in their food distribution. We have a team of volunteers. If anybody's interested, those of you who are eager for the city to pass a climate emergency, we could use volunteers to join the Zero Hero team to be part of that zero waste initiative. So if you're interested, please get in touch with the Ward 3 office. We'll be happy to put you in touch with the team who's coordinating those volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marula. Thank you. Councillor Collins.
Two community cleanups. I think I mentioned these at our last meeting, but I'm going to reiterate the dates and times. And so this Saturday, April 27th, in consultation and cooperation with the Davis Creek Community Planning Team at Green Hill Park from 9 to 12, we have our annual community cleanup. I think this is number 11 or 12 in a row that we've had here at Green Hill Park. And of course, as with all events, the gloves and bags and other materials and supplies are provided to volunteers. And that runs from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then on May the 4th, the beach community cleanup. Again, I think this is our 11th in a row at the beach rescue unit, at 316 Beach Boulevard. Again, supplies are distributed there, and residents are encouraged not only to cover the neighborhood, but obviously the lakeshore as well, where we had a very successful one recently on the beach. And again, that's May the 4th, starting at 9, ending at 12, and at the beach rescue unit. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have to ask, did you get the short chair this week? Or what? Is it defective?
I think I said something at committee.
Somebody, okay. You've annoyed somebody and you got the short chair. Okay. Thank you. All right. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have 4 announcements. I want to start off by saying how much I have appreciated the stellar leadership of Acting City Manager Mike Zagaric. I believe tonight is his very last night of being the Acting City Manager. I'll let the applause speak for itself, but I just want to say, Mr. Mayor, over the last 10 months, I couldn't think of anybody else from our senior leadership team who guided us through some difficult times. Of course, that lame duck period of the election time coming and going, and just carried on the fine example that our former city manager, Chris Murray, did, being very inclusive, ensuring that council, the community, and the corporation were all involved in decision-making, and he brought his experience and talents to the fore, and he'll be handing the torch over on May the 6th to Jeanette Smith, but resuming his role as General Manager of Finance. So I'm just so proud of Mike, and my office has really appreciated the ongoing working relationship with him. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, speaking of genocides, this Sunday, April the 28th, at the Armenian Community Center, will be the 104th commemoration of the first genocide of the 20th century. April 24th, ironically, Mr. Mayor, today of council is the exact day of the remembrance of the horrific 1.5 million Armenians that were deported to their death by the former Ottoman Turkish Empire. And Mr. Mayor, I know that Councillor Pearson has been a wonderful regular attendee. Yourself, Mr. Mayor, when your schedule has allowed. It is this Sunday, April 28th, 2:30 p.m. at the Armenian Community Center, 191 Barton Street East in Stony Creek between Grays and Greens Road. There'll be a ceremony, film outlining the history, musical interlude as well. I want to thank the organizing committee of Natalie Manukian, Hago Papkarian, Paul Safarian, and others for always putting on this memorial commemoration. We must always remember, Mr. Mayor, that this was the first genocide recognized by many countries from the 20th century. I'm very proud of our federal government under then Prime Minister Chrétien and Martin that recognized the Armenian genocide of 1915. And you must always remember and note, Mr. Mayor, that when Adolf Hitler began his atrocities against Jews, against Poles, against people of different sexual orientation, when asked about it, his infamous words and quote was, "After all, who remembers the Armenians?" So I encourage everyone from this community to attend this Sunday at 2:30. And as you know, Mr. Mayor, I'm very proud of being one of the descendants of the Georgetown Armenian orphan boys and my history. And I particularly want to thank at this time Councillor Salvatore Marula for his recently elevating the awareness of Armenian history and ancestry in our great community. Thank you, Councillor Marula. Mr. Mayor, on a little lighter note, I also want to mention that Saturday, May 5th at 2:30 at the White Eagle Banquet Hall, the Polish community is having the anniversary of their Polish constitution, the oldest constitution known from a democratic institution standpoint, over 200 years old. The Canadian Polish Congress is putting it on. That's Saturday, May 5th at 2:30. It's the Academia event, and there'll be dancing, music, speeches, ceremony, and always a great dinner. Thank you to Stan and Jean Warda and the entire Canadian Polish Congress for inviting us to this great event. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I must put a shout out to the Huskies 11 minor Pee Wee White team from the Alliance Tier 1 2018-2019 Championship Series. Head coach Nando DeCaria, his assistants Chris Morris, Dan Seroyd, Mike Cripps, trainers Ian McManus and Amy Cripps. Congratulations on a great season. Their boys, the Pee Wee boys, won 54 games, 24 shutouts, 3 golds, 2 silver medals in the tournaments. Their biggest accomplishment, Mr. Mayor, of Tier 1, East Central Alliance Championship and the Alliance Minor Development Gold that they achieved. Anytime our kids and our coaches that are building champions in sport and in life for tomorrow, they achieve these kind of great success and results, I want to always acknowledge them in this public forum. Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pauls.
I had the privilege today to meet a great Hamiltonian, Marilyn Sackville, and she donated $50,000 for the expansion of the community center on the mountain there. And I was so proud. I got to know her, and it was amazing how this woman, and she's lived there all her life, and how she said that seniors, she wanted to do something. And it was so great to have got to know her. And I just wanted to make that notice that it was a privilege of meeting her.
All right, thank you. Councillor Danko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this Saturday, April the 27th, the Rollston Neighborhood Planning Team is hosting a cleanup in Captain Cornelius Park. It starts at 8:30 a.m. with a community breakfast, followed by cleanup from around 9 until noon. So if anybody is in the neighborhood, would like to help out, sure they would appreciate the helping hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So for myself, I'll just say that the inaugural match for the Forge FC, our new fledgling soccer league, Canadian Premier Soccer League, is on Saturday at Tim Hortons Field. So come one, come all, come on out and enjoy. It's going to be an orange sea, I hope, and the Hamilton sign will be lit in orange to celebrate that. This is, for all intents and purposes, the first anniversary of the Hamilton sign. So it was first installed on April 27th, marks the first birthday, and we will be lighting that up in special ways just to mark that milestone as well. And lastly, and it's been well reported on, I attended the opening of the first legal retail cannabis location at the Center Mall in Barton. It was a crowded affair. Lots of people were there. Unfortunately, it was raining, but they are a legal cannabis location and are providing decent paying jobs and providing a well-regulated product in our community. I could also add that as of today, we are down to 2 illegal shops, which I think is good news. So our police have been doing excellent work in concert with the provincial police to get 8 more off of the list of illegal cannabis locations, which I think is very positive. And on a Friday, there will be another cannabis location on 55 Coots Drive in Dundas, and I intend to attend that one as well. And so if you're available, then it's going to be at around 10:30 at Coots Drive, 55 Coots Drive, which I believe is the University Plaza, is it not? Yeah. 55 Coots Drive is, no, it's not. No, I know where it is, yeah. Sorry, 55 Coots Drive, let's leave it at that address. So if you're available and you want to come out and see what a legal cannabis location looks like, feel free to come on out. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to recognize, certainly there's lots of cleanups going on across the city, and I want to thank all the residents that participated. In our own community of Flamborough and Waterdown, we've had the Girl Guides who have been out in force. We've had different dance troupes who have been going out, and this weekend, Boris Creek neighborhood will be out, and other neighborhoods as well. In Carlisle, we have neighbors up there that come out in force every year. And then May 3rd, this is my very first hackathon that I will be involved in. L3 Westcam, that is, of course, one of the largest manufacturers of security and defense technology, I believe part of the in the world network, have invited me to a hackathon. And they have some pretty bright computer people there. And they're going to be starting on May the 3rd. And it's a Friday night. They'll be starting at 9 o'clock. And it is a 36-hour nonstop hackathon. And I'll be there to do the kickoff, and I'll also be there as part of the technical judging panel on Sunday, which I'm very, very, very much looking forward to. It's going to be quite exciting. So that's great news for L3 Westcam as they continue to grow and prosper in our community.
Exactly. Thank you. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 55 Coots Drive is the former location of the Dundas Library, while it was the original library was under reconstruction for a very long time. And the property that you're talking about is next door to the beer store, which I'm sure everyone will recognize.
Strategic location, for sure, yes. Yeah.
So, I just wanted to say that I owe a debt of gratitude to a number of staff people who, over the last 2 weeks, put themselves out to arrange to have many signs put up and a special enforcement area designated in the Greensville neighborhoods. They seriously went way out of their way to make sure that that happened in time for Easter weekend, which traditionally has a huge influx of people, but of course it teemed rain. But I do want to say that there were still people who made their way to the waterfalls, and there were some tickets given, but there was nothing like the congestion that typically takes place in that area. So I feel quite confident that this is a move that will make a difference for the neighborhood and give them back some of their quality of life that the congestion has taken away. So I just wanted to make a point of thanking the staff, and they know who they are, for doing that for me and for that neighborhood, because we're very grateful. I want to remind people that if they have family and friends over, and the signage is on the road that says that you can't park or stop somewhere, please do not do that. The fine is steep. It is not about penalty. It is about compliance with the rules that are there and obeying what's on the road so that you can make your way to Christie Lake and park somewhere where it is manageable for thousands of cars, and you can take the shuttle to the falls and enjoy your day and not impact on the community to a point where at times it is not safe for them. So thank you very much to everyone who looked after that.
Great, thank you. Good to hear it's working better. I think it's been a long time in coming. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I can never do it as eloquently as Councillor Jackson can, but I want to express my gratitude to Mike Zagaric too. I've gone through some very significant issues in the last few months in Ancaster, which needed the intervention of the city manager. And Mike, you're very helpful, very balanced, and full of common sense. And so I really appreciated that support. I'll probably still be leaning on you when you go back to your former job, but thank you for that. And I also want to recognize Brian McMullen taking on the acting role as General Manager of Corporate Services, and took us through the first budget for the new term, which is always an interesting one. But also your staff, there was a bingo, bango, bongo effect. When you promote one guy up, everybody goes up, and everybody's got a bigger workload. We certainly saw a lot of Miss McCanty, Cindy McCanty during the time. I know a number of others did an excellent job in backstopping you, so thanks for your great help too. And on Ancaster issues, Ancaster, quite frankly, I think is going to be the sports capital of Canada in 2019. I may be bragging a little more than I should, but it starts this Sunday with the Paris to Ancaster bicycle race. This is the 26th year, 3,000 bicyclists. We'll take that grueling 70-kilometer run, and it ends with a grind-up, what's called Martin Road, an on-open road allowance, which is incredibly steep, and about 4 inches of mud this time of year. And they got to come up there, and they finish at the Robert Wade Park, which is the Ancaster Community Center. They have about 15 pressure washers set up there to pressure wash off the bikes and the bikers, but where the awards are given out, and there's some celebration done. So it'll be very busy this weekend around that center with 3,000 cyclists and all their families coming into town, because the families drop them off in Paris and pick up in Ancaster. So there'll be probably a lot of cars parked illegally too, but we'll let it go this weekend because we're welcome to have this back. Then on May 31st to June 2nd, we are playing host to the Ancaster Heritage Day soccer tournament and festival. It's one of Canada's largest. There's outdoor soccer tournaments. It'll take every soccer field in Ancaster and go into the West Mountain Hall. Also, there's 300 teams coming out, 15,000 participants. Apparently, it's the second biggest booker of hotel rooms in the city in a year. And so that runs from May 31st to June 2nd. And then the very next day, on June 3rd, we welcome the start of the Canadian Open at the Hamilton Golf and Country Club. I do want to recognize Dan McKinnon and the public works staff. They're putting some spit and polish on Ancaster, particularly Wilson Street, because there's 100,000 participants expected. They all park at the Ancaster Fairgrounds and get shuttled down Wilson and dropped off at the on Golf Links Road right in front of the club. HSR is going to be running a free shuttle service also from the McNabb Terminal up to the golf club to allow participants, particularly those who want to take public transit down to McNabb, get on that shuttle bus, and it drops you off right at the gate to the golf club. And so we have world rank number 4, Rory McIlroy, coming in. Will make his first ever debut at the Canadian Open. Dustin Johnson's coming. Dustin Johnson, as most of you probably know, is Wayne Gretzky's daughter's husband, so it's his son-in-law. And he's ranked world number 1 now in the golf world. And of course, the Gretzkys just live down the road at Brantford, so they'll be out, we suspect, in a plentiful way and be very visible at the golf club. They're trying something new this year with the concerts on the Friday night and Saturday night. It's on the first hole of the East 9, natural amphitheater there, and Friday and Saturday are now sold out. The corporate tents are sold out, and the other days are almost sold out. So if you want tickets, you better get them. And they're allowing 20,000 people in a day for the 4 rounds Thursday through Sunday, but they have the pro-ams earlier in the week. So that's why we're expecting some 100,000 people to come into Hamilton to go to that facility. And so far, it's been a huge success. We just don't want it to rain too hard because it's hard in the crowds, but plus they make a mess of the golf courses, all the trucks and equipment going in and out of there, because we want to get that restored as soon as the tournament's over. And following that, the sports bonanza concludes with the 51st annual T-ball tournament from August the 2nd to the 5th. And as you all know, because you sponsored to the tune of $50,000, the Canadian Little League Championship. This is where all the Canadian top teams in Little League will emerge on Ancaster at the Little League Park in Spring Valley from August 1st to the 10th, and it'll be broadcast on TSN. So it's going to be a busy summer for sports in Ward 12 or in Ancaster, and for the whole city, in fact. And I saw in an email today from our Public Works Department where they're going to keep the Red Hill Valley open that weekend, or the week of the Canadian Open, so that visitors can get up and down the Red Hill, stop the paving for a week to get that done for the 100,000 visitors that are coming in for that. And lastly, on a sad note, Jim Coombs, a good friend of mine, I've played a lot of golf with him, passed away, and his visitation is tomorrow. He was the founder of Loyalist Insurance and was the president for a number of years. So we've lost a true champion of our community, and my most condolences out to his family. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Yep, thank you very much, sir. Before I start, I just wanted to thank all the volunteers that organized and implemented a very wet and rainy Easter egg hunts. I had the privilege of being a part of 3 of them, and it just took volunteerism up to 100 levels, because they're standing in puddles and not with no umbrellas, just helping little kids, the ones that did show up to get their treats, and it was really, really well done. So this Saturday, actually, the Mount Hope Community Cleanup is happening. We're going to start at 10 a.m. We're going to be at the Mount Hope Library. The airport's actually going to supply pickup trucks to pick up all the bags people have collected, and they're also supplying lunch afterwards at noon back at the library. So thank you to the airport. Friday, May the 3rd, is Sinclairville's United Church annual farmer's sausage and homemade sauerkraut supper. For those that don't know where Sinclairville is, I encourage you to come out there. It's the most southern part of Hamilton, and in some cases you almost have to go into Haldimand County to get to it. So Saturday, May 4th and 5th, the Bimbrook Country Home and Garden Show is back, and on the 5th they will be doing a car show and swap meet happening. All these admissions are free except for the dinner. You pay for your dinner. On Saturday, May the 4th, this year's National Puddle Day will take place at the Glenford Curling Club on Homestead in Mount Hope. And for some of you that don't know, this is now a worldwide event. It started in Mount Hope, and it is to honor those children whose lives were cut short and support bereaved families who have experienced the death of a child at any age. The event is free and will feature live music as well as pony rides, face painting, and a barbecue. And the 5th thing I'd like to, the last, is the Warplane. The Warplane actually is premiering a new virtual reality experience depicting the Lancasters' flight over Berlin, which vividly captures the danger of a bombing raid. And this experience is free with admission. I had the opportunity to experience this. I don't know if you have, but it's actually a recording of a BBC reporter who went on a bombing raid during World War II. So they've recreated it visually and they've recreated it audibly, and you're sitting in your chair and you really feel like you're in the plane. And I don't want to minimize what these young men went through. The average age was 19 to 25. And you're sitting in a comfortable chair, you've got your equipment on, and your stomach starts to clench the minute you see the searchlights coming up, and they're highlighting the Lancasters, and then you see all the anti-aircraft going off. And I'm thinking, I can't imagine what these young men went through. But it's free until August the 31st with admission. For all these events and more, please visit brendajohnson.ca and get more details. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few announcements, actually. Just a reminder that this Saturday, April 27th, from 8 till noon is the Rain Barrel Sale. It's the city's one-day rain barrel sale that's scheduled, and it's held at Mohawk College on Fennell Avenue West campus. It's in the southwest parking lot. The sale does run from 8 till noon, and a new barrel can be purchased at a cost of $45, which includes HST. There's pre-order options, and you can also have pay for delivery. For more information, go on to the City of Hamilton's website, hamilton.ca/rain barrel sale.
I know it's very popular every year, and if you, everybody will get one. So if you pre-order, everybody's guaranteed to get what they order. I'm going to just mention as well, and unfortunately I can't make it, on April the 28th, I believe it is the day of mourning here at City Hall. And that's the day that at 2 p.m. here at City Hall the event starts. And it's an event to recognize all the workers who have been injured and killed on the job, just trying to provide, you know, for their families and their children, et cetera, and their loved ones who were lost due to unsafe conditions. So it is a very moving event. They start here in council chambers, then go out to the memorial statue out front. And unfortunately, I can't make it this year, but I certainly will have my personal moments of prayers for all those families. A couple of thanks, actually, I want to send out, as Councillor Johnson mentioned. I had the Winona Easter egg hunt, and I want to send out a huge thank you to Erin Arsenal, who I did meet on Saturday at the Winona Easter egg hunt. Very, very wet day, as was mentioned, and she did send me and confirm that, fortunately, they still had over 500 to 600 children attend. It was quite a bog, and I'm really thrilled. There were a lot of volunteers, and I commend them all for everything that they did. And I also attended the event on Monday. Immaculate Heart of Mary residents did a pitch-in event, so clean up. They basically had about 31 volunteers, including parents and students starting from approximately grade 4 and up. They went out and they all had their maps of where to go, and they pretty well did from number 8 Barton, Fruitland to 50 Road. Approximately 51 bags were collected. So they had 34 bags of garbage, 17 bags of recyclables. A phenomenal amount of work when you have to recognize that these are all ditches as well. And, you know, I certainly was out telling them to please be safe and be careful when they're out there. And a special thank you also to staff for supplying the equipment, the bags, the gloves to the group, and also for picking up the materials afterwards. So it's always appreciated, and I think it gives great pride to the neighborhood and to those that did participate to see what they have done in such a short time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much. And I too just want to take a quick moment to thank Mr. Zagarek, because I came in, he was the acting city manager, and I've dealt with a lot of civil servants in my time, put into those types of positions. You're the epitome of a professional civil servant. You managed it so gracefully and with respect, and you were able to find those compromises and help people move things forward. So it is a skill that you have, Mike, and everyone around the table recognized it. So thank you very much for kicking in for our city. I really appreciate it personally. On April 17th, Mr. Mayor, I had my first town hall in Upper Stony Creek. It was for residents who were experiencing issues with pedestrian safety and speeding. I didn't know how bad it was in Upper Stony Creek, specifically in Summit Park area. I was surprised to hear of streets where young people, I guess they think they're in that Fast and Furious movie, where they drive really fast and then they drift by hammering on the emergency brake and spinning the car sideways. So they're actually doing that, sir, on streets in residential neighborhoods. I've seen the videos. It absolutely blew me away. I couldn't believe that this was happening. So now the police are involved, municipal law enforcement, our traffic division has been great. But it's important that folks be telling their kids, their college kids specifically, that aggressive driving, careless driving, when you're doing those donuts and it looks like fun, and when you're drifting your vehicle and it was very cool, did you see that? You are breaking the law, and it comes with very heavy penalties, careless driving, aggressive driving. And the ad that the police are running, where there's no such thing as speeding a bit, it couldn't be more poignant. It really is an issue in these communities. So we are working with the neighbors, with the traffic division, to come up with the ways and means to try to mitigate that, and public education is a huge component, but I was struck by how much it seems to be epidemic across the entire city, according to the police. It really is becoming a serious issue, and my biggest fear is, there's one court where they're doing these donuts, they come racing down the street and slam on the emergency brake, spin the vehicle around, and there's kids that play hockey on that court. And they're not going to stop in time. They're not going to see that kid run out, and something's going to happen. And So it really is careless, and we have to do everything we can. So we're working with the residents to try to fix those situations as quickly as possible. And now the police are monitoring the neighborhood. So I appreciate that help from the police and to my police service board colleagues. I do want to mention, this is an event that's not in my ward. It's at the Salvation Army Mountain Citadel at 835 Stone Church. I think that's Ward 7, isn't it? Esther Paul's ward. This is the Canadian Orpheus Male Choir. I've been a patron of theirs for 10 years. They're a fantastic choir. If you like choral music, it's absolutely amazing. Their music director is Richard Cunningham. They have an accompanist, Christine Cheeseborough, this time. And their special guest this time is Safe as Houses. So if you want to look them up online, it's May 4th, Saturday at 7 o'clock. Tickets are only $25, but it's a fun night, great music, lots of jokes, and things are rather unexpected. But if you like choral music, it will take you back, and I thoroughly enjoy it. This is a group where they unfortunately found themselves in a situation where someone had absconded with some money, someone that they trusted immensely, and the money just kind of disappeared. And so by doing these types of events, they have, over the last couple of years, started to replenish that amount of money with the support of the community. So I encourage folks to get out Saturday, May 4th. If you want to buy tickets, you can dial 289-812-9827. It will be a great night. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And Mike, I think it's a good time for you to ask for a raise anytime soon now. I think that be the next notice we get, along with all of us. I think we thank you. We thank you for your great work, and we know you're going to continue on. And I might add that Mike has done a terrific job of preparing Jeanette Smith. You know, as Mike said a little while ago, when he first started his job, it was basically, there's your desk, this is your job, and good luck. You know, Mike has really taken it upon himself to give her an orientation I think is worthy of the position. So I thank you for that, Mike. I think Janet will be well served by that, and it was to your credit that you actually initiated that to ensure that it was a smoother transition than others might have had in previous iterations. So thank you for all your great work, and thank you, members of council, for acknowledging that. And I'm going to turn to Councillor. Yeah, probably, yeah. Councillor Johnson for a motion on the, unless there's questions on the list of members to be appointed. If not, Councillor Johnson.
It's moved by myself and the Vice Chair of the Selection Committee, Councillor Nan. The appointments for the various agencies, boards, and committees, one being the Waste Management Advisory, the other one being Hamilton Future Fund, and the third one being the Rental Housing Subcommittee. The names are in front of you, and appreciate your support and all the hard work that the Selection Committee has done.
Great, yes, thank you for the Selection Committee. Hard work indeed, because it takes a lot of time, and congratulations to the new members. Councillor Pearson on that. Okay, let's vote first then on the electronic vote, please. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Did were you pre-voting on that one? Did you want to speak to that? Or? One second, what are we talking about? Sam.
The in-camera, yes, the in-camera component, there was a selection committee recommendation, which did deal with the rental housing component, which I declared an interest to prevent a conflict throughout that process and have been consistently, and I believe so did Councillor Clark and Pearson, so I need to declare that interest in order to prevent the conflict this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is this is also comes with a form now, right? In each and every instance, we have to have the form carried out. Okay. So you all have your form. So it's Councillor Vanderbeek, Councillor Pearson, Councillor Clark, and yourself, Councillor Marula, all declaring an interest in that. And Councillor Paul. Okay. Get your forms signed up, and then I would say probably electronic. No, we don't need an electronic vote. You're just declaring that as a conflict. Madam Clerk? Yeah, so we need to redo the vote so you can declare, so let's do that. So All in favor, and those declaring conflict or opposed? Thank you, that's carried. And members of council, there's the bill list before you. Unless there are changes, I'm going to turn to Councillor Clark for a motion to approve the bill list. Councillor Clark.
Oops, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Maria Pearson. The bills number 19007 to numbers 19089 be passed, and that the corporate seal be affixed thereto, and that the bylaws be numbered and be signed by the mayor and the city clerk to read as follows.
Thank you. All in favor electronically, please? Thank you. That is carried, and I will take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Pearson, seconded by Danko. All in favor? Carried with enthusiasm. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.